It was a very humid day. Dude, I fucking hate that. I hate when it's fucking humid out. Um, there'll be times where like, I'll shower, I'll wash my hair, it'll dry out, right, and it'll be normal. It'll look great as always. And then I have to step outside for whatever fucking reason, like to get my mail, to pay my rent, fucking whatever, right? Um, and if I'm outside for like 5 fucking minutes in the humidity, like my hair gets ruined, and it fucking sucks. I hate it. I hate it so fucking much. I look like a hobo. I go from looking like, I don't know, some L'Oreal like hair model to a fucking hobo. It's so fucking lame. Anyway, not even a slight breeze was blowing. It had been an unpleasant summer, one that wasn't only hot, but swelteringly so. There were various articles of clothing hung out to dry in the messy apartment windows, but the lack of wind evoked an impression far removed from coolness. In fact, it felt only more oppressive. There were crooked houses and apartments lining the narrow, twisting road. In addition, there were planters and flower pots whose contents were beginning to rot, as well as bicycles and cars on the sides of the road, making it even more cramped, more oppressive, and all the more sweltering. Nobody who was in this place at this time was visiting it voluntarily. But in spite of what everyone might expect, a single motorcycle came rolling in. With Who the fuck do we know that has a motorcycle? Teppei has a motorcycle, or at least a scooter of some kind. Oryo has one as well. I don't know if she. I mean, They might have called it a bike as a joke, but I'm pretty sure she just has a scooter. Anyway, the motorcycle stopped in front of a two-story apartment, one that could hardly be called neat, even as a flattery. A man, fairly old and wrinkled, stepped off. When a nearby neighbor hanging out the laundry noticed him, she called out.
ほんれ、こんにちは。今日も暑いこって。
ちゃあ、暑いね。こんな暑いとうだっちまってかなわねえよ。
No, wait. Wasn't there, in chapter 4, the old man who found... Oh, what the fuck did he find? He found something in the bushes. I can't remember what the fuck it was. But he found something. Oh, wait. Is OBS crashing? It did. It's so fucking lame. OBS crashed for like a fucking second. I should be back. But my god, what a... That was really fucking stupid. Anyway, for those of you who refreshed, welcome back. And for those of you on Twitch, you might get an ad because Twitch is lame like this. Anyway, I'm pretty sure there was a dude, an old guy in a motorcycle in chapter 4 who would greet us, who greeted Akasaka at some point. And he told him something. I can't remember what the fuck it was, but it was like, he had found one of the clues of whatever the fuck they were looking for with, like him and Oishi. So, there's that. Anyway. I'm gonna try not to, theorize too much, so we can actually get through this chapter at a reasonable pace. Suddenly, I got goosebumps all over my body. I felt like something bad was about to happen for no reason. Everyone gets this feeling in a different way. Some people get a twitch in their eyelids, or some kind of movement in their ears. In my case, I get goosebumps. Satoko was supposed to be cooking dinner tonight. We didn't have much inside the refrigerator, so I asked her to go grocery shopping. I was just watching TV and relaxing while I waited for her. She was usually back by the time my cartoon was over, after which she'd start cooking dinner. But my cartoon was over. The news had started it, and Satoko wasn't home yet. So like, Erika's just like bumming around, and like just has a giant bottle of like liquor in her hand, and she's fucking like watching anime, and then waiting for Satoko to get home so she can just start cooking dinner for her. That's really fucking funny. Anyway. Satoko sometimes waited until they had a sale at the store. In that case, she'd usually come home late. That must be what's happening. It was too early for me to start worrying about her. But, I can't explain this feeling. I can't explain it, but I feel extremely worried. Once I started feeling like that, I couldn't just sit in the room and wait for her.
Hanyu? Iru?
I thought she might know where Satoko might be, but she's never around when I need her. Hanyu is not with me 24 hours a day. She sometimes falls asleep, and sometimes she goes out for And sometimes she goes out for walks. Though in her case, it's not a walk, but more like a stalk. She follows people around when she finds someone interesting, and she enjoys observing them. Anyway, I had no choice. I'd have to find Satoko on my own. I had a good idea of which store Satoko goes to. I should check those first. We're in Hinamizawa. If I ask people, they tell me where she went.
あれ、リカちゃまでねですかい。ありがたや、ありがたや。
ニパー、それより今日、サトコが買い物に来なかったですか？
さとこちゃんの顔は見てないね。私がずっとお店番してたから、来れば見てるんだけどね。
Oh no. I didn't even have time to say thanks. I ran to the next store. People were greeting me and waving at me. I'd usually smile and greet them back, but I had no time for that at the moment. Satoko, Satoko, Satoko! I need Satoko in my life. I was able to survive for so long because of her support. Without her, this world would be so empty and boring. Satoko is nonchalant and optimistic, unlike me. So I learned so many things from her over the past 100 years. But I still need to learn more from her.
Satoko! Satoko!
People stared at me as I ran by them, screaming at her name. I didn't care what they thought, though. Satoko, Satoko, Satoko! Why are they looking at me like that? I'm looking for Satoko. Somebody tell me where she is. My heart was convulsing inside my body like a fish out of the water. What little stamina I have, I hate my body for being so young.
角のお惣菜屋さんが夕方に売れ残りを安くするでしょう。そこに行ってるかもね。
I went to a few different places, but I still couldn't find her anywhere. The people I talked to gave me advice on where to go, but I couldn't find her in any of the places they suggested. I continued to run looking for her. I continued to run even when I bumped into people.
さあ、どうだろう。夕方は人がたくさん来るから覚えちゃいないかもしらん。
There are only a few places in Hinamizawa where we can go grocery shopping. It shouldn't be that difficult to find her, so why couldn't I? I tripped on something in the street and fell flat on the ground. I injured my hand on a small rock embedded in the ground. I didn't feel much pain, even though I said ouch. It just felt hot, as if I had touched a frying pan. Suddenly, someone handed me a pretty handkerchief.
大丈夫？怪我とかしなかったかな？レナ、サトコを見なかったですか？
Rena was carrying a grocery bag. I've heard that Satoko bumps into Rena often when she goes grocery shopping. They tend to choose the same stores.
サトコちゃんを？今日は見てないよ。サトコちゃんがお買い物の日だったの？そうです。会っていませんですか？わからないな。今日がサトコちゃんのお買い物の日なら絶対にスーパーひなみざわの特売日を逃さないと思うもん。でもレナもスーパーにいたけど会わなかったし。
Rika's gonna bust out the diamond dogs on her. Or the mountain dogs. She's gonna call the idiot clinic, be like, Satoko's missing, I can't find her. And then the fucking, like, 4 or 10 people that they brought over to watch, that they brought to watch over Rika are now gonna try to find Satoko. My brain wasn't getting enough oxygen. It took me a while to understand what Rena was talking about. I understood that Rena didn't see Satoko, but that wasn't the point. They had a huge sale in the market today? There's no way that Satoko would miss that. There was no way that Satoko would miss that sale, but she still didn't see her there? What was that supposed to mean? It means that she wasn't there.
さとこちゃん、お財布とか家の鍵でも忘れちゃったかな。
I couldn't find the right words to explain. Should I tell her I feared that something bad happened to Satoko and that's why I'm looking for her? No, I couldn't do that. I couldn't think too deeply about why she hadn't returned home.
どうしたの？困ってるなら力になるよ。話して。
I knew she was just trying to help me. I even thought I needed someone to help me just a few moments before. But now that she was here, I had no idea what I was supposed to say. No, that's not it. The truth is, I know. Somehow I know. I wouldn't have to know if it was someone else. Oh boy. But I have to know this. Rika Furude has to know what's going on. And also, hey Melina, thanks for stopping by over on the Twitch side as well. Feliz Jueves. I know it. I remember it. I knew this was coming. I've experienced a world before where Satoko suddenly disappeared, but the possibility for that happening is as low as Akasaka showing up in Hinamizawa. It only happened randomly in my other lives. This is not the first time. It happened before too. I should see it for myself. I needed to see if I'd gotten stuck inside a devastating world again.
力になるから話して。ごめんなさいです。さよなら。あ、リカちゃん。
Oh no, Rika. I started running. I couldn't pretend like I didn't know where she was. Please, don't tell me that I was blessed only up until this point, that I'm about to fall back into my unfortunate fate from here on. I thought that this world was different. I thought I could move on to a happy future. I thought I would be able to defeat my deadly fate in this life. But this was just horrible. It was horrible that this was happening to this world. I was standing in front of the place that I hate the most in Hinamizawa. Yes. It's Satoko's real home. I knew it. The Hojo residence. I'd been living with her since last fall, so this house was empty. In the beginning, she used to come back here to pick up her clothing and other necessities, but once she moved most of her stuff to my house, Satoko stayed away from this place. This is a bad place for Satoko, because all she could remember of it was the horrible time she spent with her uncle and aunt, and the memory of her missing brother Satoshi. That's why she never wanted to come back here. But that wasn't the reason I hate the house. It's because I know what happens whenever this house becomes an issue in my life. I knew it. Oh God, please. Please bless me with just one more fortune. I closed my eyes and prayed, then I slowly opened them. The window was open on the second floor. I saw a faded curtain swinging inside. As soon as I saw that, my knees realized what was going on even before my mind processed it. In the next moment, I lost strength in my legs and collapsed on the ground. I saw an unfamiliar motorcycle parked by the house. I also saw laundry and a futon hanging outside. I was certain that someone was living here. It was proof that someone was living inside this house. It's never good when there's someone living inside this house. Imagine it's not like Tepe. It's like Satoko's grandpa. Instead. This was very, very bad. I knew exactly why. I knew why, but I felt like I wanted to act like I didn't know.
リカ？
Satoko went outside to take the futon in and noticed me.
リカ？
Satoko looked down and forced herself to smile. I felt so sad. It wasn't just her expression. I could tell that her left cheek was red and swollen.
サトコ、こんなとこにいないで、お家へ帰りましょうです。
I took her hand, but she still looked down without squeezing back.
リカ、私、今日からこっちの家で暮らそうと思いますの。どうしてなのですか？私のおじさんが帰ってきましたの。
Oh, of course. Okay, so yeah, Teppei's back.
それで、こっちの家で一緒に暮らそうって話になりまして。聡子は、そんなの望んでないはずなのです。意地悪なおじさんなんかと一緒に住んで楽しいはずがないのです。でも、どうしようもありませんわ。リカの家へ帰っても連れ戻されるだけですもの。リカに迷惑がかかってしまいますわ。
She gave up with a sad smile. She looked exactly how she looked 1 year ago in 1982. Her uncle only slapped her face, and she's back to being the Satoko from 1982. The cheerful Satoko that I knew until yesterday could no longer be found. Right, so if we recall, like, we had all this, like, play out in Chapter 3, and with it, like, everyone was basically, or at least Keiji was like, well, just go back to Rika, blah, 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 blah. But she has, like, this, like, Stockholm syndrome where she's traumatized from being with her uncle that she kind of can't do it. Unfortunately. It'd be really cool if she could, but, like, her mind always tells her no, and she's just so... I guess, yeah, it's just trauma. She just has so much trauma from being abused as a child. Or, well, I say child, but, you know, well, she still is one. But from being younger. From when she lived with her uncle, that shit just got bad. Anytime they were like, well, I mean, she could just live with Rika, then they'd be like, well, technically he's her guardian, and he's here, and because of that, he could just kind of, like, call the cops, and they can force Satoko to come back to the home, and it's fucking lame. But anyway, she finally got her smile back, but her uncle took it all away with just one slap to her face. A broken soul can recover over time, but her damaged heart can never be fixed completely. I just took the broken pieces and put them back together. The cracks in her heart will always be there. That's why she wouldn't come with me, no matter how hard I tried to pull her hand. She couldn't get over the fear. She knew just how scary her uncle could be.
Satoko, なんでほったらかん。どこ行きよんねん。
I heard a disgusting voice from inside the house. Satoko stared at the ground, her shoulders were shaking.
なあ、なんじゃよ、それは。
He came out and stood right behind her.
なんでもありませんの。お友達と会っただけですのよ。
したらんどうでもええんねん。それよか風呂け、磨かんかい風呂け。わしは風呂に入りたいしちゃったな、こら。
Satoko scampered back inside the house like a terrified small animal. I feel devastated as I watch her go.
遊びの約束だったかい。すまんの。ちょいと聡子は家の片付けで忙しいんよ。わしは聡子のおじなんねん。ちょっと長いこと出張に出とってん。ようやくひなみ沢に戻ってきたわけなんよ。
Liar. He only showed back up because his lover went missing. In another world, I once let my hatred out on him. But then he inflicted that anger in equal turn onto Satoko. So I couldn't allow the dark flame burning within my chest to reflect in my eyes. Since I couldn't make myself smile and I couldn't insult him, all I could do was give him a short bow and run away from the scene.
なんね、泣く子も黙るわしのガンにビビってもうたんかいね。
Is this when Rika is like, you know what, I should probably talk to my friends about this, and then just be like, hey, did you know that, like, Teppei Hojo is back in town? Why don't you tell, why don't you call Shion real quick? I'm sure she knows someone that's looking for this guy. I heard his hideous laughter from behind me. I cried as I ran away. I couldn't stop crying. I thought this was a perfect world up until today. Why was God doing this to me? It was too cruel. But I couldn't give up yet. I couldn't do anything, but I still had hope for this world. I didn't think the luck I had until yesterday was just a random thing. I went back to my house in a hurry. I needed to make a phone call. I didn't know the number because it was my first time calling the place. I looked inside the phone book, and I found it easily. I made a call to that number.
これはどうもどうも。 フルデさんからお電話をいただけるなんて思いませんでした。
What the fuck? Oishi has caller ID? In 1983? Was that a thing? Hold on. I know I said I wasn't gonna do tangents, but... Caller ID was invented in the 70s. Available in the late 1980s. And... the first company to deploy caller ID commercially, at least in Memphis, was in 88. Let's see. But seems like caller ID technology existed in Japan since the mid-70s. Crazy. Anyway.
何かございました？
I already knew that Oishi could never save Satoko based on what I've seen in my previous lives. For him, Satoko is only a good way to get at the Sonozuki family. Her uncle is probably his prey in that regard too. Even if I talked to him about her situation, he would do nothing to save her. The only thing he'd tell me would be to call the child consultation center.
大石、赤坂とお話ししたいのですが、いますですか？
赤坂さんですか？温泉行ってますよ。和倉温泉。
Wakura? It's not anywhere near here. Thought he was staying here until Watanagashi.
なんでも温泉宿をやってる親類にご厄介になれるとかだそうで。いやいや、羨ましいことです。
Did Oishi send him away?
え？和倉ですか？石川県ですよ。能登半島の。
Let's see. Where is the Noto Peninsula? Let me quickly try to, like, find out. Okay, I see. So, here. Let me see if I can point it out on the map. Oh, this can work. It's a shitty quality image, but it's good enough. Anyway, if we look at Japan real quick, so here it is. So here's Japan, and that is where the Noto Peninsula is at. Like, it's that little area at the very top, where the one is at. Now, if I recall, Higurashi takes place on the, like, southeastern side of Japan, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't remember the exact location, because it's been a while. I'm not going to look that up and waste more time. But just know that, you know, Akasaka is, like... How many like prefectures, or at least I don't know. What are they in Japan? States? I don't know. It's like he's like 15 or whatever of these little like line breaks away. So he's pretty far. Anyway. No way. He told me that he was staying here until Watanagashi. Thought he meant he was staying in Kinamizawa. But did he actually mean this area of the country in general?
赤坂と連絡は取れませんですか？
That was a meaningless question. There was no way I could get him to come here while he's enjoying his trip with his wife. Even if I can talk to him on the phone, he'll probably only tell me to call the child consultation center or something.
お泊まりの旅館は聞いてませんしね。
Yeah, and cell phones were not a thing yet. Or at least, they weren't widely used. I believe only businessmen had cell
もの
phones.
すごい高級旅館だって言ってたから、多分某有名なあそこだろうなとは思うんですがね。まあ最近の宿はガードが硬いから部屋番号も知ってないと繋いでくれませんしね。
わかりました。もうでも赤坂は綿流しのお祭りに来るとは言ってませんでしたか？
Oh, she's still worried about that. Which is really cute, but again, she also just needs to make sure that, hey, by the way, Akasaka will be in town, right? To possibly, maybe, hopefully protect me?
そうです。こちらへは能登への行きと帰りに滞在されるんですよ。だから先日も一泊されてくつろがれた後、すぐ立たれました。だから、綿流しの直前にまたこちらへ戻ってきて滞在されると思います。あなたにお土産を買ってくると言ってましたよ。
Oh, that's cute. How terrible. I thought it was too good to be true. I knew it was kind of strange for him to stay in a boring place like this. My luck seems to be turning. This might not be a surprise though. Just like I can roll a 6 3 times in a row, I can roll a 1 3 times in a row too. Happy things and unhappy things can happen with equal probability.
もしもし、何か伝言があるなら会った時に伝えておきますよ。
I looked at the calendar on the wall. I didn't know when he was coming back, but I was certain he wouldn't be here for at least one more week. I thought back to the past and tried to remember what happened. That guy will break Satoko apart in 1 week. I couldn't wait that long. I had to give up on seeking help from Akasaka. Well, that's okay. I still had one more option. One more person I could rely on.
いえ、いなければいいのです。ありがとうですよ、大石。ニパー。
I hung up the phone after thanking him. I couldn't make a phone call to the next person. I'd have to talk to him in person. I put my shoes on and headed to the Idia clinic. Oh. She's gonna sick the dogs on him. The clinic's hours were over for the day. There was usually no one here after that. However, since Tomitake was there, they should still be inside the building for a meeting. They had to be there. She's gonna roll a 1 again. The front door of the clinic was locked as expected. I went around the back door and rang the bell. Now, I don't think we've seen this image at all before. But here's the side or the back of the clinic. And then here it is in the console version. Man, I usually don't talk about this too much, but... Oh shit, actually, did OBS crash again? It seems like it did for a little bit. I mean, we're back, but that's still so fucking lame. Anyway. One thing that I haven't really mentioned is that, well... For some reason, the background artists for... Well, just the background art in the console version tends to be, kind of hit and miss with a lot of its stuff. Some things will be very, very nicely detailed. If you look at the building at the little shack on the left, that's pretty nicely detailed. If you look at the trees in the background, they're all relatively serviceable. If you look at the building right in front of us, it's done pretty well. The lines are moderately consistent. Even the lines not being fully connected, that's a stylistic choice to show distance, right? If you look at the little grass patches every now and again, all the little dirt, that's also just pretty neat. But then you have stuff like this. This cover. The fuck is this? It's if you look at the sidewalk, right? Look at the sidewalk right next to this image. The sidewalk is a straight line, it's jagged, whatever, right? And then you have this shit. The oval is all squished and weird. It's asymmetrical. It's odd, and you might think, well, okay, I mean, it's probably old and stony and blah 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 blah. But then look at this one. What the fuck is this? It looks so weird. Anyway, I'm nitpicking, but it's something that I notice every now and again, with the console art style at least. But either way, let's hop back to the original. And also, again, if you're watching on Kick, on Twitch, you're gonna get a fucking ad again because OBS had to restart. And every time a new stream, quote unquote, starts, you get fucked over with an ad. Anyway, I went around the back door and rang the bell. The whole clinic is nervous when Tomitake is around. They usually ignore visitors, but I'm special.
どうしましたか？緊急の要件と聞きました。
私まで用とあっては穏やかな話ではなさそうね。
Edie and Takano showed up soon after I was taken from the visitor's room. If Rikafurude has an emergency, then it's a priority for these two people. I'm the most important person in this village.
ひょっとして誰かに狙われているという。
あなたの近辺は常時山犬の中でも特に優秀な連中が警護してくれているわ。
Okay, so here they mentioned the mountain dogs
あな
again.
たとあの日した約束をちゃんと守っているわよ。
I had no doubt about that. They saved me right away when we had that confrontation with those 3 delinquents the other
いえ、
day.
そうではないのです。実は、聡子の危機を救ってあげてほしいのです。
聡子ちゃんに何かあったんですか？
Idia doesn't have that much power alone, even if he really wants to save her. But Takano controls the mountain dogs, so she does have that power. What the fuck is Takano then? I thought she was just a nurse. Huh? Takano has that. I thought they might have been Idia's, like, dogs or something. What the fuck? Also, wait a minute. Remember in chapter 3 when Takano meets up with Keiichi and she tells him, "So how deep did you bury the body? Did you bury it more than 6 feet under? Did you know that if you only leave it, like 6 feet under, it can attract mountain dogs?" She might have been referring to literal dogs of the mountain. Or she mentioned something like it could easily be found by mountain dogs. She could have meant literal dogs that live on the mountain. Or the special task force, or whatever. In my previous lives, I was never able to get help from the mountain dogs because I wasn't on good terms with Takano. But this world is different. I have a better relationship with her in this life, and she's even kept the promise she made. I trust her ability completely now.
あの北条哲平さんがですか？なんてことでしょう。
It was mainly Satoko's aunt who was abusing her last year, but Idia knows that her uncle was violent with her too. I told him that Satoko had gone back to the same condition she was in the previous
こ
year.
のままでは、いつ何があるのかわかりませんです。聡子を助け出すために力を貸してほしいのです。
Idia seemed to want to do something for her, but he didn't know exactly what to do.
こういうのはどうすればいいんでしょう。やはり警察に相談した方がいいでしょうか。
さてどうかしら。現時点では親権者が現れて聡子ちゃんを保護しただけよ。聡子ちゃんが大怪我でもしたというならともかく、そういうわけではないんでしょう。
そんなのは時間の問題なのです。このままでは大変なことになってしまうのです。
Hate to say that it's only a matter of time. I knew how she was going to get abused and how she was going to end up. I've seen it in the past. I really wanted to tell them about it, but I couldn't do that. As it hasn't happened in this world yet, they just think I was imagining it.
多分こういうのはまず児童相談所に訴えるのが先じゃないかしら。
そういえば以前、聡子ちゃんが児童相談所に虚偽の通報をしたなんてことがありましたね。
She made
ちゃ
several.
んと話を聞いてくれるといいのですが。
The answer is no. My friends contacted the Child Consultation Center several times in the past, but Satoko always refuses their help. She claims that she isn't being abused. The Satoko from 1983 might have asked for their help, but currently, she was the Satoko from 1982. For her, living with her uncle reminds her of the time when Satoshi was around. She feels like Satoshi will come back if she can live strongly without always relying on her brother. Even if the Child Consultation Center were to take the case seriously, it's just too late. I tried to remember. In the most recent world I experienced, it only took a few days after Satoko was kidnapped by her uncle. It only took a few days for him to tear her apart. We had no time to waste. We needed to take action quickly.
聡子ちゃん自身が助けを求めてくれないことには助けようがないのが悔しいです。
入江先生の方から警察やお役所に連絡することもできるとは思うけど、そこまでが限界ね。気の毒とは思うけど。
違うのです。高野の力で聡子を助け出してほしいのです。
Edie and Takano looked shocked, and both went quiet. They didn't expect me to seek help from Takano. Look at how smug she looks. And Edie is like, huh. But look at this. Oh man, she looks That's the weird part, right? Like, again, the sprite distinctions are very interesting. Like, here she looks very smug, like, oh, you don't want Idia to help? You want me to help? And then here, she's like, she looks like you ran over her cat. Anyway.
それは強硬的な手段に訴えろということですか？
僕はそういうお願いをしに今日ここへ来ていますのです。そうでなければこんな時間に押しかけたりしませんです。
お気持ちはわかります。ですが、
入江、里子を大事に思うならどうか一生のお願いなのです。里子を助けてくださいなのです。里子はあと何日もしないうちに本当にひどいことになってしまいます。それは決まっていることなのです。もうしばらく様子を見てみようでは見殺しにするのと全く同じなのです。入江は去年の里子をもう忘れてしまったのですか？もうそうなっているのです。今この瞬間にも。そしてあと数日で取り返しのつかないことになってしまうのです。
All I could do was stare at him, believing that Idia could see the future only I knew. The tragic end awaiting Satoko reflected in my eyes. Idia remained silent for too long a time to call it brief. Someone trying to think of some excuse to avoid the issue wouldn't go silent that long. He was recalling Satoko's terrible state last year and seriously considering if my plea was as urgent as I made it out to be. I know that he really cares about her. That's why I need his help.
どうしようかしらね。
Idia nodded and looked up. I guess he finally came to a conclusion. I just hope it's a positive one.
高野さん、リカちゃんの頼みを聞いてあげてください。
What?
去年、
Oh my
さとこちゃん
god.
に何の手も差し伸べられなかった無力さに悩んだことがあります。これはその時傍観して手を尽くさなかった私が罪を滅ぼす唯一のチャンスだと思います。
しかし、そうはおっしゃいますけれど。
Takano didn't think that Idia would make that decision. She seemed shocked to hear his response. I mean, I am
当施
too.
設の責任者として正式に高野さんにお願いしたいと思います。さとこちゃんをどうか助けてあげてください。
And OBS crashed again. Alright, well, I mean, if you're watching, this is gonna happen possibly constantly. Unfortunately, today. It seems like I'm just having constant issues. But anyway, back to this. What a weird sentence. I would like to ask you as the director of this clinic. Like, is Idia that influential? Like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, what kind of clinic, like, what clinic is this? You know?
入江先生、助けるという言葉がどういう意味か少しわかりかねます。どうか落ち着いてください。
さとこちゃんは我々にとって欠かすことのできない存在です。これまでも、そしてこれからも我々の研究に最大限貢献するでしょう。
Now, we know that Idia does care a lot about Satoko, just in general. Even to the point where he's wanted to adopt her. Here he's probably telling Takano, like, hey, you know, she's a very useful guinea pig, we kinda, like, need her. So that Takano is on board.
本件は高野さんの職務に含まれるものとお察しします。
Yeah, like that. That's probably how they're gonna justify it in the budget. Idia continued, though Takano tried to persuade him.
所長、入江京介としてお願いいたします。高野さん、どうかさとこちゃんを救ってください。
I stared into Takano's eyes together with him.
高野も里子と仲良しだったはずです。どうか里子の友人として助けてあげてくださいです。
助けてくださいという言い方がお二人とも実に偽善的ね。さとこちゃんをさらって永遠に監禁するわけじゃないんでしょ。さとこちゃんにこれまでと同じ生活を送らせるために救うのでしょ。それはつまり叔父の方を摘出せよ というご命令ですわよね。
卑怯な言い方をすれば、妖精に対しどう対処するかを決定する権限が
Jesus,
高野さんにあります。
like, I get it, right? Like, we have the dramatic irony and, of course, the knowledge of being the reader. But put yourself in Idia's shoes for a second. Imagine you're the head doctor of a clinic. And a 7 or an 11-year-old girl comes to your clinic late at night and basically tells you, hey, I want your death squad to kill my friend's uncle who is mentally abusing her. Like, emotionally and, mentally abusing her. And then you basically just go, yeah, I guess so. Might as well. What a weird situation to be in. Right? Like, anyway.
でもそれが卑怯ならば、私がはっきりそれを口にしても構いません。
入江先生、いえ、入江所長。そのご命令を実行すれば、私は無論、そして入江所長も責任を問われることになりますが、その覚悟はおありですか？
I looked at his face. Unlike me, Idia has many things to lose. I knew that Takano's words would shake him emotionally. However, Idia was determined.
ええ、構いません。申し開きをする場へ引き出されても、自身の心を裏切るよりはるかにマシです。
左門がどういうものかもご存じないのに、大した虚勢だことで。
高野さんが上手にやってくだされば、東京に知られずに済みます。それで誰もが円満に決着できませんか？
リスクばかりで見返りのない仕事ね。
高野が望むなら、神社の宝物を他にもたくさん見せてあげますです。もう見せるのを意地悪したりしないです。だから、今回だけ助けてほしいのです。
I'll let you use them. You can use them on him if you want. And then she's immediately on board. The risk she's taking is larger than the reward I'm offering. But that's about the only thing I can offer her. I don't care about the traditions of the food of the shrine as long as I can save my friend from her suffering.
わかりました。これじゃ、私が悪者みたいだものね。
She forced a smile and accepted the favor I asked
あ
her
りがとう
for.
高野さん。
どういう風に助けるかは一任いただきます。具体的なプランは後でお好みと相談します。
後ではダメです。今でないとダメなのです。
She promised to save Satoko, but she still wasn't motivated for it. It'd be too late if she didn't do something right now. I try to make Takano understand that this is an urgent matter.
そうですね。リカちゃんも、そして私も、今この場でしっかり納得のいく決着がつくことを願っています。こんな時間にせかして申し訳ありませんが、どうかお願いできませんか？
二人とも、さとこちゃんのこととなると目の色が違うんだから。わかりました。少し待たせるかもしれませんがお待ちください。
Right now, okay, but it'll take a few minutes.
無理を聞いてくれて、ありがとう。
いいえいいえ。私の給与査定者の頼みですもの。笑顔でお引き受けいたしますわ。
Actually, how did he say this? I need to remember this phrase for later. At least the way he thanked her. I'm gonna take a screenshot of that and have that for my vocabulary later. Anyway,
リカちゃんはさっきの約束、絶対に忘れないでよ。
Anyway, just don't forget that promise you made to Rika.
きっとなのです。
Or don't forget that promise you made, Rika.
神社に来た時は、おまんじゅうとお茶もつけますのです。
Takano smiled slightly and left the room. Once we finally heard her footsteps fade away, the tension in the room dissolved. Idia offered me something to drink, but I refused. He must have thought everything was taken care of, but I couldn't relax until Satoko was physically returned to me.
いりえ、さとこですが、お薬とかは大丈夫なのですか？
Oh, that's probably why she starts to fall apart. Like, not having access to her medication, her fucking uncle probably just destroying them.
おじは聡子が逃げ出すと思って家から出さないと思いますから、もうここへ来ることはできないと思います。
幸いなことに先週まとめて針と薬を渡してあります。ですのでしばらくは問題ないでしょう。ただ強い精神負担は薬でも抑えきれません。
Right.
少しずつ追い詰められ、いつか取り返しのつかないことになるでしょう。
そのいつかというのはほんの数日後の話なのです。
Takano hadn't come back yet. I thought it would be bad news if she came back too early, but I started feeling nervous after she had taken so long. Iria insisted that I go home because it was getting very late. I couldn't go home and relax, however, until I heard from her that everything was taken care of. I had to wait for her to come back. I needed to deal with this tension until then. Over an hour later, Takano finally returned.
お待たせ。
ああ、いかがでしたか？
She was looking for the right words. I had a very bad feeling from her reaction
残
alone.
念だけど簡単にいかなくなったわ。
どうしてですか？
つい最近沖宮で殺人事件があったらしいの。その事件に何らかの関与があると疑って北条哲平を警察がマークしてるらしいわね。
事件？何ですかそれは？
間宮とかいう女が園崎家の上納金に手を出して見せしめに殺されたとかなんとかで。
Interesting. Okay. So that's okay.
警察が北条家と園崎家の関係に慎重になったらしいのよ。その女はどうも北条哲平と実婚らしい。綿流しも近いしね。お社様のたたりの5年目をなんとか阻止したい警察が北条哲平が今年の犠牲者じゃないかとマークして釣り糸を垂らしてるって話みたい。
釣り糸って何なんですか？
北条哲平をマークしてればお社様のたたりの真犯人を釣り上げられると睨んでるのよ。
なんてことだ。では
リカちゃん、本当に申し訳ないんだけど警察のマークが外れるまで山犬には手の出しようがない。
そんな。山犬の方ならもっと困難な任務でもこなせるでしょうに。
それは入念な準備と計画に基づきしかるべき機を見ての話です。通常は長い監視期間を設け、その上でタイミングを測ります。
We. So again, what the fuck is Takano then? Is she not a nurse? Is this like cosplay? Is this just like a front? Or is she actually a nurse and also a trained killer who somehow ends up getting whacked? Like how the fuck does Takano die? Again, if she has access to these resources, right, with the mountain dogs, I assume they probably have like one dude watching her. Or at least like a squad that rotates, right? Like, hey, you watch her on this day, this person watches her on the other day. How the fuck does she get taken out? Unless they take her out. I don't fucking know. It's still weird, like how the fuck Takano ends up getting killed.
同等の任務なら半年から1年をかけるところです。今更言うことではありませんが、私たちは決して日の当たるところへ出ることができない存在です。日の元へ出たならば灰になる存在なのです。だからマークされ眩しく照らし出された今の状態では近づくことすらできない。
ではいつならその木だと言うんですか？
最も早くて綿流しの後ね。多分綿流しが終われば警察もマークを解くかもしれない。
But that would be too late. She's saying it'd be after Watanagashi. I didn't even know if that was a day or a year after. She also said it usually takes at least 6 months to prepare for this kind of mission. It's too long. I thought this world was different, but that hope was slipping through my fingers.
ではどうすれば里子ちゃんを救えるというんですか？
日の当たる世界では日の当たる世界のルールで解決するのが筋かと思います。例えば警察へ相談する、児童相談所に相談する、学校へ相談するのも方法かもしれません。
それは何度もやったけど無駄だった。
Iri and Takano were surprised. They had never expected me to raise my voice. In fact, I didn't think myself that I would react this way. But I couldn't keep my emotions in check after Takano suggested all those meaningless solutions.
私はお前たちにずっと協力してきた。何の見返りも求めず、ただただこの身を捧げて協力してきた。それなのに、どうして里子の一人だけが救えないというのか。あれだけの力を持ちながら、どうして里子を救うことにのみ臆病なのか。何の力にもならない警察や役所、そして利用するだけして何も助けてくれないお前たち。もういい、もういい。私はよくわかった。この世界が袋小路だということがよくわかった。もうお前たちには興味ない。この世界にも未練はない。そうさ、あれだけの幸運に恵まれても結局、そうさ、またいつもの運命。お前は山奥で焼かれて死ね。お前は睡眠薬で自ら死ね。そして私は当然のようにまた死のう。どういう殺され方をするのか未だに知らず命を散らそう。ここは運命の袋小路、行き止まり。私は生まれた時から殺されるために生かされている運命。みんな死ね、みんな死ね。どうせ終わる世界なんだ。消えてしまえ。うわ
I can't put words to my emotions anymore, and I started to cry. I was so lucky up until yesterday. I had so much hope in my heart, but it had all been for nothing. It felt like everything was falling apart. I've lived for more than 100 years. I've lived longer than the normal human lifetime. I thought I was blessed with good fortune for the first time in my life. This would never happen to me again. That a miracle had occurred, but everything was shattered. I cried and cursed this world. I needed to give up on my life as soon as possible. Satoko would be waiting for me with a smile on my next one. I wanted to go see her, but what would happen to the Satoko in this world? What would happen if I abandoned her? I didn't know, and I didn't care. Satoko. I'm a witch who has lived for 100 years. But I still couldn't rid myself of the human emotions in my heart. I didn't get anything to eat because Satoko was supposed to be making dinner tonight. But I didn't have an appetite anyway, so I figured I'd just go to bed. I still had to make lunch for the next day though. Satoko might come to school tomorrow. I rinsed the rice, hoping that I wouldn't have to waste the lunch that I was making for the two of us. I had to stop thinking like that. I already knew it was a waste to make her lunch. I already knew that Satoko wasn't coming to school ever again. I felt so miserable while rinsing the rice that tears started dropping into it as I thought about her. Why was this happening in this world? I thought everything changed when Keiichi gave the doll to Mion. In that world, Mion pretended to be her sister for a week. In that world, Mion pretended to be her sister for a week and got closer to Keiichi. That wasn't happening this time. I thought we would be having a good time until the festival. Huh? It's odd. Wasn't that club activity 2 weeks before the Watanagashi? I realized something. The club activity was exactly the same, but it happened 1 week earlier than the world I knew of. It was 1 week earlier than in my previous life. I get it now. I thought I was familiar with this world, but it was actually a different one where events are mixed up. That means even though Keiichi gave the doll to Mion, that didn't solve everything. I thought I was getting lucky. I was confident that everything was going to be okay. I stopped making an effort. I knew that there was a possibility that Satoko's uncle was coming back, but I let her go do the grocery shopping. Would have been more careful and kept her home if I knew that he was coming back to get her. should be careful in my next life. But there wouldn't be a next life that was so fortunate. I didn't get lucky that often. Even if I locked Satoko inside the closet, it would be over if Rena's father messed up something or if Keiichi lost his mind. I have to clear up everything that's not within my reach, and I also have to make the best effort I can. Without that, I can't overcome the fate of 1983. In this life, I may be able to overcome my deadly fate with Takano's help. But Satoko will not be there in my future. That defeats the whole purpose. My goal is to survive this year while laughing with my best friends. I don't want to sacrifice Satoko in order to survive. I don't want to live in a world without her. I was blessed with all those fortunes, but I still couldn't defeat my destiny. I ruined everything because I stopped working so hard. I will never again have a lucky life like this. I lost my first and only chance. I cried and scratched at the floor. I didn't know if I should curse my fate or curse myself for not putting forth enough effort. For I realized that Hanyu was standing in front of me. I didn't know how long she had been there. She just stared down at me with a look of pity on her face.
羽生、あんたの言いたいことは分かってる。だから運命に期待するなと言った。でしょ。期待するななんて酷な話よ。あれだけ全てに恵まれた。サイコロを振る前から6が出ると確信できる世界なんて初めてだった。あれだけの勢いがあればきっと打ち破れると信じた。それでもあんたは期待しすぎるなと。
She probably felt something strange at the toy store that day. She realized that the date was 1 week off, and this was not the same old world that I knew. She had realized early on that I still shouldn't be too excited about this life.
僕もリカと一緒にいて短くないのです。だからリカに聞かれると思って先に言いますです。僕にも今日の運命など分かりませんでしたです。ただ僕から助言できるのはただ一つ。この世の運命なんて秋の空より気まぐれで一喜一憂するにも当たらない祭事に過ぎないということなのです。
There are 6 sides on a die. That's the reality of it. And it doesn't mean that 6 is the best number either. I should just take any number that I roll. I shouldn't be disappointed if I roll a 1 a few times in a row. It's pathetic how I thought rolling a 6 was the best result you could obtain.
100年ちょいを生きるくらいじゃそこまで悟るなんて難しいわね。でもリカ、僕も何度か言いましたが、今回の世界は奇跡ではありませんです。我慢強く待てばきっとまた巡ってくる世界なのです。我慢強く待てばってそれは何十年後何百年後の話なの。もう私たちには力は残っていない。多分再び世界をやり直しても昭和58年の6月より前へは戻れない。それどころか戻れる時間はどんどん短くなってゆく。そんな短い日々を再び奇跡が起こるまでずっとずっと繰り返せというの。数年を繰り返す世界ですら狂ってしまいそうになるというのに、たった1、2週間の世界を再び奇跡が起こるまで永遠に生き続けろというの。無理よ。
I was betting on this world. Bet all of my coins on this one world. And I lost. I lost all of my coins to this fate. I have no more coins left in my heart. These coins are known as hope. I have no coins left to hope for my dreams to come true.
リカ。
I lay on the floor as if I collapsed. The floor should have been cold, but I didn't feel anything. All I picture is like the Family Guy like fall, like whenever a character is just On the floor. Just Rika with her leg behind her back.
これが希望をすべて打ち砕かれるということね。
I always thought people could survive as long as they had some bread and water. But that's not right. People can't live without hope. People can survive because they believe that something good will happen to them eventually. As long as they keep on living. But that's just for normal people who don't know what awaits them in their future. There is no such hope for a witch like me.
もう
On this lonely night.
何もかもがどうでもいい。この世界だけじゃない。
Or holy night.
これからの世界もすべてどうでもいい。このまま灰になってしまえたら。リカ、そんなことを言ってはダメなのです。リカ。
Anyu's voice gradually fades away. I slowly lost my senses as I lay down on the kitchen floor and let myself sink into the darkness. Man, is that the chapter? It was only an hour. No, there's more. Good. I was worried for a second. But it seems like OBS is going to crash again. Maybe? Oh. From it's so over to we're so back. Anyway. I dragged my body to school hoping that Sadako might be there. But just as I expected, there was no one sitting in her seat. I felt all the more devastated just seeing it empty. I had nothing left to bet on. All I could do was get hurt and suffer devastation. Blood flowed from my broken heart and found its way out through my eyes in the form of tears.
フルデさん、どうしましたか？今日は北条さんはお休みですか？
The whole class was wondering why I came late today and why Satoko wasn't with me. But even if I felt sympathy from everyone's eyes on me, I didn't feel any praise from them. I think she said something along the lines of, did Satoko oversleep or is Satoko still asleep? Something like that. No one here was able to save Satoko. No one. No one could save her. Why should I have to keep smiling at all these useless people? This world is finished anyway. If I leave matters alone, then a few days after the Watanagashi festival, my movie reel will be cut as I'm murdered like usual, and I'll return to the beginning of this month again. And so I'll continue to live forever in June 1983. Trapped here. Even death won't set me free from that prison.
フルデさん、何かあったなら話してください。北条さんは今日はどうしたんですか？風邪でお休みですか？うるさいな。
Oh, sick. Okay, so not asleep, but is she sick? The whole class gasped. No one expected Rika Furude to talk like that. I myself made such blunt statements a few times in several past worlds, but it was always the first time anyone in that world ever heard anything like that. That must have been very easy for them, and I envied it.
フルデさん。
Chia was standing there dumbfounded. I stood up from my seat. If Satoko wasn't around, I didn't want to be locked up inside of this humid place.
帰るわ。
I'm not coming here anymore. Goodbye. I felt like saying something like that. However, I retained the small hope that Satoko might go to school the next day, so I kept it to myself. However, Chia wouldn't let me go. She grabbed me by the arm and dragged me to the teacher's office instead. She had told me to take a seat on the couch by the principal's office. She had no right to tell me what to do. Doesn't she know I'm the princess of this village? I am literally the most important person. I could just escape through the open window. As I didn't have that kind of energy, however, I sat on the couch as she told me to. I realized then that I didn't even have the energy to be rebellious. Maybe Satoko felt the same. She lost the energy to rebel, and so she was simply obeying her uncle.
フルデさん、何があったか話してください。先生はきっと力になれますよ。
Chia spoke to me, but I already knew that her words were empty. All she could do was call the child consultation center. She wouldn't go to the Hojo residence and pull Satoko out of there. So there was no point in even discussing the topic with her. If I told her, she wouldn't keep it to herself, and shortly everyone would know what was happening with Satoko. That would only result in chaos. If they call the child consultation center, the staff from there will go and visit Satoko. Her uncle will deny the abuse, and Satoko will also deny it because of the guilt she feels over Satoshi leaving. Shortly after, they'll find out about the false report Satoko made before, and they'll decide to not proceed any further. Her uncle will allow Satoko to go to school for a few days, but his abuse will get worse because he'll think she's the one who called the child consultation center. He'll do horrible things to her, just like her aunt did in the past. Calling the child consultation center will not help Satoko. It will instead put her in an even worse situation. It's better not to notify them at all. But if we don't report it, then how else is this world supposed to improve? No, nothing is gonna change. There's nothing that can be done once this unfortunate fate overtakes Satoko.
北条さんのおじさんが？それは本当ですか？
I had somehow answered all of Chia's questions without noticing. I knew that nothing would change whether I spoke to her or not, so I just told her everything, because I had no energy to rebel.
だいたい状況はわかりました。大変なことになりましたね。で、そこまで知って、あなたは何ができるの？
Chia answered right away without faltering, already used to my spiteful tone.
今日、夕方に家庭訪問に行ってみます。まずは聡子ちゃんに会って、事情を聞いてみます。
And then what?
それで問題があるならば、児童相談所に相談するって言うんでしょ。聡子は過去に嘘の通報をした記録が残ってると思うからね。虐待の確たる証拠がないと動いてくれないわ。人が殺されるまで捜査をしてくれない警察と全く同じよ。聡子が殺されるまで相談所は動いてなんかくれない。そうすると相談所も学校もこう言うの？いじめの兆候は全くなかった。普段は明るくて全く予見できなかったって誰かが用意してくれたコメントを読み上げるみたいに同じことを言うのよね。本当にバカばっかね。そこはきっと相談所の人が何とかしてくれると思います。私も北条さんの窮状をしっかり訴えます。
You've done the same in previous lives too. I wasn't denying her passion, but I couldn't say that there was meaning to it. The problem wasn't with Chia, the problem was with them. No matter how hard Chia tried to seek help from child services, it meant nothing as long as they held biased notions about Satoko.
そんなの虐待の痕跡があるかどうかなんて関係ないじゃないですか。
I suddenly heard a voice from the hallway. It was Shion's voice. Chia shouted, "Who's there?" And I heard Mion gasping, "Crap." They must have been listening to our conversation. They were having a quiet discussion outside the door, but Shion accidentally raised her voice. Now, I don't think we've seen Shion angry in her uniform, but here she is. I completely forgot about this factor, her being here. But there she is. This sprite is really cute. Like, she looks really, really cute here. And, like, does she have, like, a tie that's turned into a bow? Anyway. She gets violent sometimes, or so violent sometimes. 4 people entered into the room from the hallway. Mion, Shion, Keiichi, and Rena.
自習だと言ったはずですよ。委員長は皆さんを連れて教室に戻りなさい。そんな場合じゃないです。聡子に何かあったら先生、どう責任を取るつもりなんですか？取れないでしょ？ひよってる場合じゃないです。すぐに行動を起こさなきゃダメです。おねんのバカとかは虐待のちゃんとした証拠がないとむしろ事態を悪化させかねないとか言ってますけど、そんな証拠が残った後じゃ遅いんです。ミオンは聡子を見殺しにする気？そこまで言ってないよ。
Wait, hold on. Oh, okay, yeah. Do you want to see Satoko dead?
さっきも言ったように、聡子には過去に虐待 SOS に嘘の通報電話をした経験があって、それ以来マークされてるんだよ。
Yeah, so Shion is now acting like the way Keiichi did when we tried doing all of this, and we tried every single possibility. We analyzed every possible angle on how to help Satoko back in chapter 3. Because remember, these events are repeating, and like anything you can probably think of possibly working has already been tried.
だからしっかりした証拠がなければ必ず訪問調査だけして様子見ってことになる。
And this is always the dead end. Without proof, they won't investigate her case any further.
それはどういうことか考えなよ。おじの怒りに油を注ぐだけ。聡子を余計追い詰めるだけなんだよ。
くそ、なんだよ。何かある前に手を施すのが救うってことだろ。聡子に致命的な虐待の痕跡が刻印されるまで放置しろってのか。
みんな落ち着いて。私もしーちゃんやケイイチくんと同じ意見。何かあるまで様子を見ようなんてのは絶対思わない。なら何ができるのかを考えなくちゃ。
何かってなんだ。児童相談所に相談することだろ。絶対に助けてくれるならいいが、様子見になる確率が高いってミオンはそう言ってるわけだろ。
うん。悔しいけど昨年がそうだったように今年もそうなる可能性が極めて高い。しかも今年は昨年に比べたら状況がまだまだ甘いの。去年は聡子が十分に追い詰められている状態だった。でも今回はまだおじに連れ去られて1日しか経ってない。しかもおじは1年間放置していたとはいえ親権を持ってるし。
So, remember, Teppei's lover, Mari, I think I forget what her fucking name is because like I said, I fucking napped before streaming, which is never a good thing. Anyway, Teppei's lover, was accused of stealing from the Sonozuki family, which is why she was murdered. The police think that Teppei is responsible for this, which is why he came back to Hinamizawa. Now, Shion, of course, has Sakai with her. She'll probably get home and be like, shit, fucking, Satoko's uncle is back in Hinamizawa. He's gonna be like, what do you mean? She's gonna explain the situation, and then Sakai is gonna be like, oh, so that's where he's holed up. And then just a bunch of black suits are gonna be outside his fucking house. And then they're gonna, take him away, probably. Anyway. That's my prediction.
そんな野郎、待ち伏せてぶっ殺してやればいい。
しーちゃん、そんなのダメ。サトシくんはそんなのを絶対に喜ばないよ。
じゃあサトコをどうやって助ければいいんです。サトシくんに頼まれた。サトコを頼むって頼まれた。私、サトコに何かあったらサトシくんに顔向けできないよ。サトコがいじめ抜かれた後じゃないと手が打てないなんて、そんなの方法じゃない。目の前で現在進行している犯罪はまず通報するの？違うでしょ。止めなきゃ。私たちの手で自ら止めなきゃ。落ち着きなよ、シオン。おねえ、その先本家の闘士でしょ。本家の力でサトコを助けてよ。
Oh no. She's doing the same thing Keiichi was asking of her. You can fix this, Mion. Fucking fix it.
できるでしょ。サトコ一人を助けるくらいの力は十分にあるでしょ、おねえ。分かってるよ。ダム戦争で遺恨が残る北条家には一切関わらないって鬼ババの方針なんでしょ。サトコがどうなろうと見て見ぬふりというのが園崎本家の方針なんでしょ。児童相談所に助けられなくて園崎家にも助けられないなら私がやるしかないじゃないですか。私はやるよ。サトコを不幸にするやつはぶっ殺してやる。今すぐ殺してやる。この場からサトコの家まで行って刺し殺すのに1500秒もかからないんだから。
Again, sorry, I don't mean to laugh at this, but it's just kind of funny seeing a lot of the parallels to, to Onikakushi, to chapter 3. Stuff like that. And her just busting this out. The whole, I can kill him in 1500 seconds.
あんたたちには1500秒で何ができる？何もできないでしょ。私が助ける。私がサトコを助けるの。話してよ、話してよ。 今から殺しに行くんだから。シオンさん、お静かになさい。物騒なことをこれ以上言うと怒りますよ。
They were desperately discussing how to save her. I just sat on the couch and stared at them vaguely. I had seen the same discussion many times in many different situations. I was tired of listening to it. The only difference was that everything was happening a few days earlier than usual.
リカ、大丈夫。もう何にも期待なんかしないから。期待なんてどこにも残ってない。
Hanyu made a sad expression. I couldn't tell if she was sad about our fate or if she was taking pity on me. Just as she promised, Chia went to Satoko's house after school. It had only been a day since Satoko's uncle took her away. She wouldn't be able to tell if he'd heard her already or not. If the students hadn't made such a big fuss about it, Chia would have waited a couple of days before going to her house. She already knew, however, about what happened to Satoko the previous year. She also knew that her uncle was abusing her just like her aunt, and that he had neglected to act as her guardian for the whole year. Considering those factors, it might not have been too soon for her to visit the Hojo residence. Satoko hadn't shown up in school that day. No one called the school to explain her absence. That alone was proof that her uncle wasn't taking responsibility as her guardian. Chia was going to her house to see what was going on with her own eyes. She parked the car in the street and checked the map she brought from the school. It said Hojo residence on the sign in front of the house. Chia was certain that this had to be the place. I mean, how many other fucking Hojos are even alive in this village? The window on the second floor was open and she could see a curtain hanging there. From that window, she could hear the laughing voices of several older men. No one had answered the phone when she called right before leaving the school. She could also hear the clicking noise of mahjong tiles along with the voices. She had never played mahjong before, but had a pretty good idea that was it from the way the men were talking. If they were playing mahjong, there must have been 3 other men inside the house. Her students had told her that Satoko's uncle was a very violent man. Chia was a teacher, true, but she was also just a young lady. She felt hesitant to ring the doorbell after hearing their disgusting laughter. But courage drove her forward. She made her decision and rang the doorbell. She heard the bell ring inside the house, but the laughing voices continued to echo from the second floor. It seemed as though they didn't hear the bell. She rang the bell again, and this time the laughter stopped for a moment. Someone must have heard the sound, but soon after they started laughing again. It didn't sound like anyone was coming to get the door. She thought someone heard the bell, but perhaps not. Chia was sure they were home, of course. She couldn't just leave because no one was answering the door. She knocked and yelled loudly this time.
こんにちは。
She knocked loudly, and then we hear like the softest knocking ever.
北条さん、いらっしゃいませんか？
Finally, the laughter stopped, and a man with a scary look on his face opened the door.
なんじゃいね踊れは。やかましかとっととうせえ。
Chia felt intimidated by him, but her heart was filled with the teacher's pride and responsibility.
こんにちは。北条さんでいらっしゃいますか？私。
Before she could introduce herself, Teppei screamed at her.
やかましか。新聞も牛乳も保険も間に合っとんねん。わしゃ今むっちゃ忙しいんよ。仕事中じゃいねん。
The people in the room laughed when he told her he was working. Chia wouldn't give up. She continued to speak.
私、ひなみ沢文庫教諭の千恵と申します。北条さと子さんはいらっしゃいますか？
なあ、なんじゃい踊れ。なんで踊りにさとこ合わせねえならんねん。
今日、北条さんが学校をお休みしましたけれど、連絡がなかったもので、何かあったのかと思いお伺いさせていただきました。
ああ、学校？
はい。さとこちゃんはいますか？ちょっとお話ししたいことがあるのですが。
ああ、風邪なんね。そうそう。さとこは風邪で熱出してるんですわ。
プリントとかをお渡ししたいので、
ちょっとだけお話しすることはできませんか？
ドアホ踊れ話聞いてなかったんかい。
What a line delivery. Like he said like aho, but the way like he said it was like daho. But again, you know, he's like a mobster or whatever. Well, he's more of a loan shark as we know. But anyway.
さとこは風邪じゃ。うなっとるね。それを合わせられるかいボケ。
そうですか。明日は登校できそうですか？
知るかいな。そんなもん明日になってみなきゃわからんわ。
知るか？Oh my god.
このクソボケ。
そうですか。わかりました。では、さとこちゃんによろしくお伝えください。失礼します。
She bowed, but by the time she lifted her head, Teppei was no longer there. When Chia returned to the school, several students emerged from the classroom. They were Keiichi, Rena, Mion, and Shion. Rika was also still inside the classroom, but she wouldn't come outside.
先生、どうでしたか？
さとこのとこに行ってきたんですよね。皆さん、それが聞きたくて待っていたんですか？
Do you think they're gonna pull like an it and just gang up on Teppei? They're gonna wait for him to like leave the house or something, and just fucking kill him?
知恵先生、さとこはどうでしたか？無事でしたか？
What
そ
if
れ
they
が
burn
そ
the
の
house?
合わせてもらえませんでした。あんた何しに行ったんですか？教師でしょ？ガキの使いじゃないんです。会えませんでした、そうですかで帰ってきちゃ意味ないじゃないですか。やめなよシオン。そんなこともあるだろうって予想できたことだよ。どうせサトコの顔に青技があるに決まってます。だから合わせられないんです。そこは無理やり押しのけても家の中に踏み入るくらいしなきゃダメなんです。だからもう先生なんて信用できないって言いました。本当にごめんなさい。
やめなよ、しーちゃん。先生はできる範囲の最善を尽くしてくれたよ。
だが、これで本当にはっきりしたな。そのさとこのおじってやつが、さとこを家に閉じ込めているってのは、どうやら間違いないみてえだ。
そんなの確かめる前から分かってます。リカちゃまがそうだって昼間からずっと言ってるじゃないですか。それを確かめるだけに半日費やしたんですよ。それでどうするんですか？どうやってサトコを助けるつもりですか？だから落ち着きなって。それをみんなで考えようよ。シオンがサトコのことを大事だと思うように、私たちだって大事に思ってる。決して見殺しになんかしない。私たちにできることを考えようよ。そうですね。私はもう考えて提案しましたよ。
And I don't think we've seen smug Shion in this outfit either. Just real quick. She looks so fucking smug. Anyway.
私がたった一人で今日中に決着できるものすごくお手軽な方法です。死体を隠すとこだけお姉の力を借りますが。
だからしーちゃん、物騒な話をするのはやめて。しーちゃんは人殺しのことを簡単に考えすぎなの。人を殺せば解決できるなんて考え方は、およそ思いつく考えの中で最低の最低、本当の最低のことなの。
なら他に提案をしてみてくださいよ。私の提案が最低の最低なら、私よりほんのちょっぴり上等な程度でいいですから、代案を聞かせてください。ほら何も言えないじゃないですか。私なら1500秒でサトコを救える。お姉の力なんか借りられなくてもいい。死体なんか私が引きずって鬼ヶ淵の沼にでも放り込んでやる。
Anyway.
ほら
She's like acting just like Keiichi,
こ
which
れ
is
よ
really
り早
funny.
くてすぐにサトコを救える方法を。
だからそうじゃないの。一人で悩んだらそんなことしか考えられないの。ならはっきり言ってあげるよ。1500秒？かかりすぎでしょ、そんなの。私なら1000秒かけないよ。 しーちゃんなんかみたいにぐちぐち言わずに黙って教室を出て行ってなんでそうしないと思う？昔誰かに教えられたことがあるの。たとえそれしか方法がなかったとしても殺人に訴えるのはいけないこと。
Oh, actually, stream crashed again. What a shame. Again, this is gonna... It sucks that this keeps happening. But at least it's watchable, like very watchable. Anyway.
正しいことじゃない。最善手なんかじゃないの。それしかないと思ってしまうことが一人で悩むことの限界なの。
A long time ago, I don't know who told me this, but someone taught it to me. If there's something that troubles you, you can't think about it all on your own. You can't think that your own solution is the best way to conclude things.
みんなで考える。みんなで悩む。確かに今この瞬間はしーちゃんの短絡的な提案に対する提案をできないけど、私たちがみんなで考えれば絶対にそれよりいい解決策が見つけられるよ。
いいとか悪いとかの問題じゃないです。1分1秒でも無駄な時間を費やせば、聡子がどんな乱暴されるか考えればいいじゃないですか。
Okay. Good easy.
北条って姓がそんなに憎らしい。サトシ君や聡子がどんなに辛くても誰も手を差し伸べないの。私が助ける。ご託なんてもうたくさん。そこをどいてよ。そこまで言うなら今から行ってくる。あいつをサクッと殺して聡子を助け出してくる。
ダメだよしーちゃん。しーちゃん。
お前たちは呪ってろ。自分たちの無力さをいつまでも。そしてより集まって思いつきもしない妙案を議論し合えばいい。そうして聡子のために何かしているという免罪符を得ながら聡子を看板に見殺しにしていけばいい。あんたたちは誰も聡子のことを大事に思ってないんだ。
She did say Minagoroshi in here. Yeah.
聡子のことなんか遊び友達だとしか思ってないんだ。私は違う。聡子は友達以上家族だとすら思ってる。あんたたちとは聡子を大事に思う心が違うの。じゃあね、殺してくるね。
She's like, see, I'm gonna kill him now.
さようなら。
待ちな。
何を邪魔する気ですか？
シオン。
Shion, I'm gonna join you. We're gonna kill him together.
お前、レナの言ったことが半分も理解できてねえだろ。
半分どころかお釣りが来るくらいに理解してますよ。殺しをするほんのちょっとの度胸があればすぐに救えるのに、それをきれい事でごまかす偽善の。
シオン、お前が人殺しをしてまで聡子を救ったとして聡子は感謝すると思ってるのか？
感謝が欲しいわけじゃないです。別に私は差し違えてもいい。それで聡子が幸せになれるなら本望なんですから。
違うな。口先の威勢はなかなかいいが、お前には差し違える度胸なんかありゃしねえな。その証拠にお前はさっきミオンに死体を隠すのを頼みたいようなことを言ったじゃねえか。それはつまり差し違えたくない、叔父をぶっ殺した後元の平穏な生活に戻りたいって願望の表れじゃねえか。お前が本当に望んでいる世界はついこの間までの世界。俺たちみんなが仲良く楽しく過ごしていたあの世界への回帰なんだ。だがな、お前が殺人を犯せば絶対にその世界へは戻れない。そうそう簡単に完全犯罪なんかができると思うなよ。お前は絶対に逮捕される。
それくらい覚悟の上です。聡子の苦しみを私が懲役で買われるなら本望です。
違うな違うな、絶対にそれは違うな。お前は自分を呪うぜ。かけてもいい。どうして自分が殺人なんて貧乏くじを引かなくちゃならなかったのか未練がましく自分を呪うんだ。そしてその時になってようやくシオンが本当に求めていたことに気がつくんだよ。 それは叔父を殺すことじゃない。みんなと元の世界に戻ることだ。
Yeah,
そ
so
してそれは
here,
殺人を犯すことで台無しになってしまうんだよ。
here we're just seeing Keiichi kind of remember everything that, you know, that he went through in that life in chapter 3, probably. And from there, well, now Shion is kind of going through it, so he's like, bro, I know where you've been.
そしてお前が自分を呪うように聡子も自分を呪うだろうな。自分が原因でシオンが殺人を犯す羽目になったとずっと後悔すると思う。第一、お前がいなくなって誰が聡子と陰険なトラップの相談をするんだよ。お前だろ。園崎シオンだろ。お前が本当に目指す世界にはお前が聡子の脇にいなければダメなんだよ。そこを間違えるな。聡子のためだと錯覚して自ら取り返しのつかない間違いを犯すんじゃない。
そこまで言うならケイちゃんは聡子を救う方法を何か提案できるんですか？できないでしょ。口先だけの綺麗事で私の邪魔立てをするな。だからそこをどいて殺す。私が今から殺しに行く。
Keiichi blocked her way by standing in front of the door. And here we have, like, the CG of the chapter, I guess. But I'm gonna look at it real quick. Shion gave him a hateful glare, and he just sent her back a confident smile.
シオンを生かせるわけにはいかねえな。俺たちの望む世界はシオンが欠けたら成立しない。だから俺はお前を生かさないぞ。
ほう、そうですか。ならケイちゃんは北条哲平をかばってるってわけですね。なら同罪だ。お前から先に頭を叩き割ってやる。ちょっとバカシオン、やめなよ。シオンさん、その椅子をどうするつもりですか？やめなさい。
Shion grabbed the chair. Oh no. This is like, this is kind of like what happened in, well, in chapter 5. But she was using it on Satoko instead.
椅子を床に置きなさい。ケイちゃんがこの後に及んでまだ私が本気だって分かってないならマジで血見ます。謝んなくていいですからとっととどきやがれってんです。
シオン、確かに今この瞬間俺はよりいい提案をできない。でもそれは今思いついてないだけのことだ。俺たちはきっと聡子を助けるもっとマシな方法を考え出す。絶対にだ。絶対に俺たちが聡子を救う。だからな、信じろ仲間を。
仲間である聡子のために手を汚さない連中に聡子を仲間呼ばわりされたくないです。もう一度は言わない。そこをどきやがれ。
シオンこそ頭を冷やして考え直せ。俺たちはきっと聡子を救える。それを信じろ。だから短絡的な考えに走るんじゃない。仲間を信じろ。仲間呼ばわりされたくないってんなら俺を信じろ。前原圭一が必ず聡子を救う。だからそいつにかけてみろ。
黙れ無力。お前なんか信じられるか。お前にどうやって聡子が救えるというのか。シオン。
Shion threw a chair at Keiichi. It hit him hard, and the chair fell to the floor with a loud noise. But Keiichi was unfazed even after being struck. He just stood in front of the exit without covering his face. Wait, he wasn't unfazed. A trail of blood was pouring from his forehead where the corner of the chair hurt him.
答えねえな。その程度で俺が道を譲ると思ったかよ。殺されたって俺はここをどかねえぞ。お前を生かせればシオンのいない世界になる。その世界ではいなくなったお前のことをずっと思って毎日うつむいている聡子がいるんだ。俺たちがどうやって慰めてもその場だけは元気そうにするがすぐにまたうつむいてしまう。そんな悲しい世界があるんだ。俺は聡子にそんな悲しい世界を見せたくない。俺たちが描く世界は昨日までがそうだったようにみんなで楽しく過ごして暴れて遊べるあの世界だ。もちろんおじの野郎なんかに二度と聡子を泣かすような真似はさせない。それがどういう方法なのか今この場では確かに思いついていない。でもそれは絶対に思いつく。絶対だ。だから俺を信じろ。
Shion wasn't yet convinced, but even so, she walked to the window and took her seat. Somebody rested a hand on Keiichi's shoulder. He had been standing there listening. He had been standing there listening to him for a while.
校長先生。
よく耐えた。千恵先生、一部始終は聞かせてもらいましたぞ。
私が至らぬばかりに申し訳。
昨日の今日の出来事ではあるが、わしももはや猶予のならない事態だと思っておる。しかるべきところへすぐに連絡するべきであろ
The mountain dogs.
でも校長先生、児童相談所には過去にも相談したことがあって。どうせ助けてなんかくれませんよ。他力本願もいいとこです。
Shion raised her voice. The principal looked at Shion and started
う。園
talking.
崎シオン君、私は言葉の中で最も憎むべきものがあるのを知っている。それが何かわかるかね。今君が言ったどうせという言葉だ。どうせという言葉は戦いもせず負けを認める最も醜い言葉だ。その言葉を口にした時すでに戦いには負けておるのである。
私も校長先生の意見に賛成。どんな策があるにせよ頼るべき順序があると思うの。児童相談所に相談するのは多分一番最初にするべきことなんだと思う。それでダメなら2番目の手3番目の手を考えればいい。試しもしないうちから諦めるのは私は見殺しにするのと何も変わらないと思うから。
They said Minagoroshi again.
校長、もちろん通報するからには絶対聡子を助けてもらえるように言い含めてくれるんですよね。
無論だ。北条君はわしの可愛い教え子である。きっと助けてもらえるようわしにできる最善を尽くす。
児童相談所は迅速ですから今から通報すればきっと今夜にはもう動いてくれるでしょう。
それで聡子が救われればいいんだけど、もしもまた様子見なんてことになったら。
それがダメだったら次の手を考えようよ。私たちが諦めない限り絶対に聡子ちゃんを救えるんだから。
いつまでも綺麗事を言っててください。そうしてのんびりしてるうちに聡子は癒しようのない心の傷を負うんです。見殺しにしてるのはどっちなんですよ。
シオン、俺はさっき約束したからな。俺たちは絶対に聡子を救う、それもお前みたいに差し違えてでもなんて話じゃない。聡子が本当に幸せになれるような最高の形で救い出してみせる。見てろ、絶対だからな。前原圭一が絶対と言ったらそれは絶対なんだ。
Shion stared out the window without looking at Keiichi's face.
園崎家の方で児童相談所がどういう判断を下すか確認するよ。分かったらみんなに電話するよ。
それで無事保護されることに決まれば最高だからな。
もちろん楽観はできないね。様子見になる可能性が一番高いね。そうなったらどうする？
その時はくそ。
知恵先生、職員室に行きましょうぞ。早速電話をしましょう。
ええ、よく説明しないといけません。
They left the classroom. Keiichi, Rena, and Mion got together and discussed their other options. Shion was looking down and crying. Rika was just vaguely looking at them as if staring at a boring TV drama. Nothing will change. The Child Consultation Center will put her case on hold. I've seen it so many times in previous lives. I almost hope that they will take her into custody just this once. But I have no more coins left to gamble on a hope like that. Or on hope like that. In a previous life, Keiichi killed Satoko's uncle, but Shion was not there when that happened. When she is, I suppose she's the one who takes on that role. Interesting. Their pathetic hopes will be crushed by tomorrow morning. The social worker will be at her house tonight, but Satoko will deny that she's being abused. Her uncle will assume that she was the one who called the service, and he'll abuse her even more. She'll come to school tomorrow because he doesn't want the Child Consultation Center to be suspicious of him. We will feel more and more hopeless when we see the dead look in Satoko's eyes. I've been living for more than 100 years, but I've never defeated this fate. The fate of her uncle's return. I was blessed with so much luck, and I thought I could defeat it this time. But in the end, it all came down to the same thing. It was a waste of energy to put in any effort. It was worthless. All worthless. The more I thought about this inescapable fate, the more I pitied these people for talking endlessly about how they were going to save Satoko. Boy, what a chapter. That was pretty crazy. So, like I've mentioned before numerous times, Ryukishi loves to do this, where, let's quickly save before I forget. Where we will have, somewhat of a, an upswing of things. You know, things are going great. And then all of a sudden, the following chapter, just when you're kind of, like, comfortable, you think everything's gonna be fine, everything shits the bed. We end up having some horrible thing happening. That kind of just reminds you, oh yeah, this is Higurashi. Anyway, wet blanket is the tip for this chapter. Teppei returned to Hinamizawa to escape some trouble. He'd have to stay there for the rest of the summer, perhaps the whole year, and see what happened. For him, the house in Hinamizawa was like a rather dull hiding place. His lover, Irina, it was Irina, not, what did I call her? I didn't call her Irina. I don't know why the fuck I forgot her name. But anyway, his lover, Irina, had suddenly disappeared. Rumors told him that she was involved with some dangerous deal. Some sources even told him that she had already been caught and killed. Everyone he knew was aware that Irina was living with him. Everyone also assumed that he knew everything about what Irina did. They were convinced that he got money by tricking her into doing something, and as a result, some dangerous men came after him. So, we know she tried doing this to Rena's father. So, maybe when that failed, when he told her to get lost, she tried to trick someone from the from the Sonozuki family. And then she just got fucking annihilated because of it. Like, they stormed the hotel room and they fucking killed her. for stealing money from the Sonozuki family. Anyway. That made it difficult for him to stay in Okinomiya. More than anything, it pissed him off to find out that Rina was cooking up something behind his back with some other guys. Hinamizawa was about the only place he could go. He couldn't go back to the house where he used to live with his wife, as it had been abandoned since he moved into Satoko's house. Besides, he didn't even have the key to his old place. But if he went to Satoko's house, she would still be there, and she could clean and cook for him too. Teppei didn't know how to cook or clean, and he certainly wasn't thinking of learning. Rin had often been rebellious towards Teppei. He had often said that he wanted to be with someone more loyal, like a pet. For Teppei, Satoko was exactly what he wanted. As Satoko is still a little kid, she can't satisfy him sexually, but he can at least make her wash his back in the... What? What? So he's still, like... So he's even more fucked up than we think? Holy shit. Satoko's dead mother used to be a pretty woman. Satoko might grow up to become a pretty lady like herself in about 4 or 5 years. Teppei headed back to Hinamizawa with those indecent thoughts in his head. The house was locked, so he assumed that she was at the market for grocery shopping. He found her at the store and dragged her back home. However, the house was full of dust. She'd been living in her friend's house for the past year, and the house had been abandoned. Teppei exploded in anger. He told her that it was her responsibility to keep the house in order. He beat her and kicked her down to the floor. Eventually, Satoko's expression returned to what he remembered from 1982. Satoko started obeying him immediately and cleaned up the house. A new place to hide with a new girl. His life was starting out pretty good. Teppei called his buddies to show off his new beginning and ended up playing mahjong with them. He bragged about his new pet and made her serve them food and drinks. He told her to walk on all fours like a real pet. She refused, but she obeyed immediately when he tried to hit her. Everyone was laughing, and they were all jealous of him. Teppei felt really good about himself. However, someone arrived to interrupt his perfect life.
私、ひなみざわ文庫教諭の千恵と申します。北条聡子さんはいらっしゃいますか?
He thought someone was at his door to sell insurance or something, but it was a school teacher.
ああ、なんじゃよ、踊れ。なんで踊りに聡子合わせにゃならんね。
今日、北条さんが学校をお休みしましたけれど、連絡がなかったもので、何かあったのかと思いお伺いさせていただきました。
学校？
はい、聡子ちゃんはいますか？ちょっとお話ししたいことがあるのですが。
ああ、風邪なんね。そうそう。聡子は風邪で熱出しとるんですわ。
プリントとかをお渡ししたいので、ちょっとだけお話しすることはできませんか？
ドアホ。踊れ話聞いてなかったんかい。聡子は風邪じゃ。
That was a different line delivery, I'm pretty sure.
うねっとるね。それ合わせられるかい、バケ。
This was going to cause him problems, Teppei realized. Satoko was just a pet for him, and he had no intention of sending her to school. But her teacher had shown up at his house just because she missed one day. This wasn't good. Teppei hated schools, and he really hated teachers.
そうですか。明日は登校できそうですか？
知るかいな、そんなもん。明日になって見なきゃわからんわ。このクソボケ。
そうですか。わかりました。では、聡子ちゃんによろしくお伝えください。失礼します。
He was able to get rid of the teacher, but it would create more problems if he didn't send Satoko to school tomorrow. Teppei didn't need more trouble on his plate. Or on his place? I think they meant plate. That meant he couldn't beat up Satoko like he wanted to. Violence was the only way he knew how to communicate. With that out of the picture, it was very difficult for him. He wanted to beat up Satoko, but that would leave evidence on her body. If that happened, he wouldn't be able to send her to school. And if she didn't go to school, that teacher would show up at his doorstep again. Shit. On top of that, the Child Consultation Center paid a visit to his house at night. The teacher must have filed a report. That bitch, Teppei thought. Next time I'll beat her in the face so hard she'll need plastic surgery. Since Satoko was afraid of him, she pretended she really was sick when the social worker visited. It was so easy for Teppei to control her. He considered Satoko to be a convenient pet, but at the same time he'd need to be careful of the consultation center. Well, that's a shame. Well, we're getting back to like the super fucked upness of chapter 3, which was a pretty rough read, mainly just for the content, you know, that occurred during it. But either way, I think this would probably be a good stopping point. So we'll go ahead and call it here for today and swap on over to the ending screen.